Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene, and welcome to our Sunday worship celebration. My name is August Sabini, using the pronouns loosely, he and him, and I am this morning's worship associate. We gather in worship to find meaning and to live more deeply. And when we face a topic as serious as mental health, there's always a reason to give thanks and celebrate the interconnections within, among, and beyond us, calling us to be our better selves, calling us to live with wisdom and compassion. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your image of the holy, we're glad you're here. If today is your first time, we'd love to get to know you. And following the service, right after the service, over there in our welcoming room, you're welcome to join us and talk about what we're up to. And if you're online, I know you're up there somewhere. The link to our visitor form is being dropped into the chat right now. You may have noticed that we don't use a paper order of service, but we have these funny looking things, these modern technologicals, and you can use your phone to access a copy by scanning those QR codes that are scattered throughout the building. There you will find names of authors and composers. You'll find the text to choir anthems and resources used in our service. Now, let's take a few minutes to greet our neighbors, especially the ones you don't know. It's time for us to light our chalice, and Ari is going to help us. A flame brings light and warmth. We gather around it, but not just for those. We gather to meet each other. We wish that no one be alone here. Maybe we're a bit like moths. Thank you. We light this chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, with words from Joy Harjo, who served as the 23rd United States Poet Laureate, the first Native American to hold that honor. The stuff I need for singing, by whatever means, is garnered from every thought, every heart that ever pounded the earth. The shapes of mountains, cities, a whistle leaf of grass, or a human bent with loss will revise the pattern of the story, of song. I take it from there, play through the heartbreak of tenderness, of being, until I am the sky, the earth, the song, and the singer. And now, let us say together the words of our mission, which are right up there, good. Empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world.
So this morning, we come together as a community to destigmatize, lower shame, and normalize mental health issues. And to normalize my own personal mental health issues, I have suffered from depression and anxiety over the past 3 years. And luckily, I have been able to get the help that I need. And as we very well know, there's a lot of people that are not able to get that help that they need. And during the past 3 years, I have struggled with questions like, Am I productive enough? And maybe some of you have struggled with similar questions. Or why does it matter if I am productive or not? As a human, can I just be here now for a bit as I work through my mental health issues? Why is it that our society is set up for us as humans to be products? And if we cannot produce, we are then not afforded basics like food, shelter, and healthcare. Many stereotypes are created towards people with mental health issues, and these are beyond damaging. And luckily, we're here today in a spirit of love and inclusivity to think about and explore how we can create more inclusive spaces for all humans here in our church community and within our larger community circles. So this morning I want to remind folks that we do have our sensory sensitive room in the chapel for those that need less stimulation during the church service, and the church service is streamed in there as well. So this is also a fragrance-free space, and we also want to remind folks that our church is also a fragrance-free church. So please do refrain from wearing scents to church. Thank you. And we have also our lay pastoral care associates here today as we talk about these mental health issues. So if you're a lay pastoral associate that is present, will you just raise your hand so that people can see you? So we have Sally and Emmett and Daniel back there. Thank you. So please reach out to them as well today if you're in need to talk to somebody. And we, your ministerial staff, are also here to meet with you as well. So let us explore today and every day how we can live into our vision of being the beloved, welcoming community for everyone as we normalize issues of mental health.
Today, at this time, Tina is lighting our Advent candles. We light this candle for hope. This one for peace. This one for love. And this one for joy. With this invitation for reflection during the Advent season, why is the gift of joy a necessity rather than a special treat? And how can each one of us be ambassadors for joy?
I'm the Rev. Jen Youngsun Rue, and I use the pronouns she and her. I'm very happy to see all of you today, and hello to all of our Zoom friends up there. These are indeed the silent nights, aren't they? The holy nights. First night of Hanukkah begins today, and we mark the fourth Sunday of the Advent season. Next week, we're going to bring in Yule and celebrate all those festivities, and I hope that we'll see lots and lots of you in our time of merry misrule and merrymaking. It'll be a lot of fun. We're going to be here at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, so that we can start shouting at the sun, come back, please. We've had enough, okay. We'll be good, we promise. But someone reminded me that this is just the start of winter in Oregon. And so I think we're going to need each other. We're going to need each other even more in these days and weeks to come. Let this spiritual community, this vital and enlivened church, draw ever closer to one another, not just for warmth, not just for ever-expanding truth, not just for our fire for justice in action, but for the light that we together as a community build when we are together and loving as deeply and passionately as we can. I want to thank the entire worship team today for helping to create a sacred time so that we can lift the stigma of mental illness together. This is the work that we're all doing together, because this room is full of distinct people, never gathered in one place exactly the same as this, right? Never before have these people been together at this time. And so it is a special and sacred place and sacred time. I want to thank the grounds team for dragging that Christmas tree back and forth across the hall. It's really marvelous, and I love that tree. So thank you for all of the labor that goes into creating this beautiful place. Tina reminded you earlier that the room across the hall, the chapel, is our low stim room. This is our low stimulation, sensory inclusive space over there. In a few minutes, I'm going to invite you all to come forward to this lovely table, and I'm going to invite you to either turn on an electric candle or place a stone in our one bowl of water. And I ask that you do that in the name of someone, including yourself, that lives with or has lived with a mental illness. You may speak that name as you do this, or you can keep that name in the silent space of your heart. So let's begin by settling into a posture that is just comfortable for you, a posture that is comforting to you. Breathing in, I am aware that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I am aware that I am breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. What is your first awareness? What is your first memory of mental health? In your family, maybe among your friends, or within your own personal experience? What are the names that come to your mind? What are the experiences that come to your mind? I'm fully aware that some of these experiences can be quite painful, but I wonder if you, in this lovely held space, if you can think of those things with compassion, and if you can hold those stories and experiences with as much love and light as you can. And then when you feel inspired to move forward, you can come forward to the table, place a stone in water, turn on one of the candles for the person that you're thinking about. And if you are someone who needs a little bit of extra time to move around this space, I invite you to come first, if that's comfortable for you. And as always, when we're moving around in this space, just please be mindful of each other and each other's needs. Thank you. O Spirit of life, Spirit of life, you are formless and you are formed in our own image. Yes, in this world there is darkness. Yes, in this world there is fear. There's ignorance about serious mental illness. Much of that was kept alive by pinning sickness with moral defect. Much of it was kept alive by explaining diseases of the brain by talking about possession by unclean demons. Much of that ignorance was kept alive by misjudging neurochemical and cognitive development as simple laziness. May we grow in knowledge. May we grow in our willingness to learn new things about ourselves and one another. May we grow in empathy. Yes, there are troubled minds and troubled hearts. There are broken lives. And there are relationships that may never be mended. There are walls built of stigma. There are fences made of labels and exclusion. May the power of love bring all those walls down. Those of us in this room who live with one form of brain disorder or mental illness or distress or another, we, and I include myself in this we, join our hearts in hope for better treatment, for steadier recovery, for opportunities to work and to serve in ways that don't make our brains have to fit into the neurotypical system of our society. May we find the freedom in spaces like this and in our families. May we find spaces in our own hearts for a radical welcome of our whole selves and our whole brains and minds and souls. And finally, may we join our hearts in thanks for those who share our lives with us, patient partners, steadfast friends, and weary parents who have a hard time understanding why the sheer strength of their love can't heal the pain felt by their child. For that which we behold, for those we have named out loud and silently in our hearts, for the source of this great love, our sacred center, may we be forever grateful.
My name is Christina Wagner. I have been a member here for about 14 years. And I've been asked to talk this morning about my experience in the church as a person living with mental illness. So I don't share publicly often, but I do live with borderline personality disorder and bipolar 2. Two very extreme illnesses. They carry a lot of negative stigma. So I want to talk about how we can show up differently for people who are not neurotypical. Within my illness, change is very difficult for me. It's very scary, and I don't handle it well. When we came back from the pandemic, a lot of things changed. That was very, very hard for me. There were members of this church, Robin Chance-Mulford, Molly May, and many others, who really showed up for me in non-traditional ways to allow me the space to hurt and to process. I would love to create a community where everyone can feel supported in such a way. I want to talk about what that looks like. It looks like making changes, physical changes to our space, and changes to how we interact with one another. I want to look at the difference between feeling unsafe and feeling uncomfortable. You know when you are unsafe, and I would not ask you to stay in a situation where you feel unsafe. But you can also identify when you feel uncomfortable. And what I would ask of you as a neurodivergent member of this church is to acknowledge when you feel uncomfortable and to stay in that situation. Ask questions. Sit in silence. Acknowledge that not everyone can make eye contact with you or share their name or their whole story, but that you sitting with them may make a huge difference in returning to our church. It's hard to talk about. It's embarrassing. And I don't like the way, where people's minds may go when they know the truth about me, and so I fake it a lot. But our spiritual community should be a place where we are whole and true to ourselves. And I want to help make this place a place like that. Asking people what they need is really powerful, and what they need may surprise you. I reached out to someone who attends here somewhat by proxy, who I know has struggled with finding this to be a welcoming home because of what she struggles with. And I said, how could we show up for you? How could we do better? A chapel that is not so stimulating to enjoy the service, it's not so bright or overwhelming, is huge, and it's something she really felt would help. Another idea was a separate entrance for people who are overwhelmed by greeting, maybe even sometimes my greeting style. I'm all in, I want to know you, we're probably going to hug in the first 10 seconds that we meet, but that's not for everyone, right? And so maybe an entrance where there's only one person greeting you and there's no pressure to put on a name tag, and maybe it's not quite so brightly lit or heavily entered, right? She also suggested maybe a path you could follow if you start to panic in the sanctuary that would take you to the garden. A safe space, right? A way to get out, knowing that if I go in there and they close all those doors, I know how to get out, right? So I think what it comes down to is being willing to ask the questions, being willing to be uncomfortable, and being willing to make the changes. I want to create a community that learns to show up in new and different ways and continues to be inclusive and continues to acknowledge that we do not know everything and that we are not doing everything right, and that people with mental illness are all around you, whether you know their diagnosis or not, and whether they fully understand in every moment what they need or not, because it does change. I have been very blessed here to create a community that has accepted me fully when I am not at my best, when I am hurt, or angry, they show up for me. They've made a home here for me. And I think that the people here could do that for everyone. And that's what I'd like to do together. Thank you.
Is it already 11 o'clock? I think we've done good work here. And this is not the last time we'll talk about this. And I actually have a sermon here that it'll just keep. It's fine. It'll keep. I think the most important things have been said this morning. The fact that we are a community full of people who live with mental illness, mental distress, and we are people who are in love with people who struggle with mental illness. And these are people in our families and in our communities. They are people in our church. And we have done a fabulous job of learning how to love bigger, better, brighter, more differently. And today's message is just keep doing that. Keep doing what you do so well, which is to look upon people and see the fullness of their being, not just their disruptive behavior, not just a diagnosis, but you all practice every single day looking into the eyes of other fellow creatures and finding the deep, deep humanity in each one of them. We are far from finished, with our work of making this place as inclusive as possible, but we are definitely on our way. And with people like Christina and our musicians and Augie and all of you as part of this community, I just know that we're on the right track. We'll say our closing words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now, my friends, go forth into this day, be of good cheer, because here you are seen and here you are loved. Go in peace, my friends.